we are here. We're exhibiting at the show over this weekend to talk to you about the incredible innovations that take place behind the scenes for how the food that you have on your plates that arrive on the supermarket, how it's produced. We've got some wonderful demonstrations here from businesses and people that are involved in the process, the varied processes that take place in food production in this country. So we're going to kick things off with our first panel here, which is talking about the future of agricultural engineering and the opportunities that offers to young, bright minds like yourselves. So we've got a panel of speakers here who will talk through their experiences from their careers to date in agricultural engineering. So we're gonna kick off with Ashley. And Ashley is the after-sales training specialist from a company called AGCO. And AGCO are responsible for that humongous combine harvester that you'll find just behind us. So go take a look and sit up in the cab after you've heard from Ashley. So Ashley.
Morning, how are we? Good. Have any of you had a chance to look at the combine? Yeah, what do you think? Yeah, good stuff. Well, today we're sort of faced with the problem that the country, or countryside as they call it now, we've got very, very limited growing space in the UK these days because ultimately we're only an island and we keep developing and developing building houses, but ultimately the more houses we build, the less space we've got to farm. Now it's estimated that by the year 2050 the worldwide demand for food is going to increase 60% from what it is for today. So the emphasis today really isn't about farming hard, it's about farming smart. So a lot of the systems we employ on our vehicles, just like the combine that we've had a look at, all emphasises getting the maximum amount of product that we can out of the ground onto your plates in the space that we've got to work with. So the combine, for example, when it's going through the field, it's not just harvesting the grain from the wheat, it's actually mapping the field at the same time. So if it goes through an area of the field where perhaps it hasn't grown quite as well as others because there's not quite as much fertiliser in the soil, it's not quite as fertile for growing, it actually maps that so that the next time the farmer comes down the field to plant seed the following season, it's already got the map in the tractor that's been passed down from the combine. We use a thing called variable rate control. And as it passes that section where there isn't quite so much growing, it actually tells the seeder on the back of the tractor to put more seed in that area to make sure that we get more growing the following year. There's lots and lots of things involved. We've got section control, for example. So when we're actually seeding or if we're spraying fertiliser, as we've gone down a row of the field and we turn around to come back again, if the boom on the back of our tractor is overhanging an area that you've already ferted or seeded, it will actually automatically shut down parts of that boom so that the farmer isn't wasting seed or fertiliser, and more importantly, isn't wasting money as well. And also, if you put too much fertiliser in the ground, it's harmful for the environment. So it all goes in really with trying to make the maximum we can out of the space that we've got. The combine, whether you were told this or not, that's what we call the 8T, so it's not quite the biggest that we do. It's one of the biggest, but not quite the biggest. The hopper on the top can hold up to 15 tonnes of grain, maximum load. There's a lot of grain really. And the big boom that you will have seen hanging over, that can get rid of 210 litres of grain a second. Just to put that into context, you've ever seen a big oil drum, metal oil drum? That's around 205 litres, so it's a little bit more than one of those every second, which means when the tractor pulls alongside it and it spits the grain out into the trailer, it can actually get rid of that whole 15 tonnes of grain in just 30 seconds. Very, very advanced bit of kit. Seemingly as well, our tractors all rely on a lot of technology. We've got auto guidance, so the tractor will drive itself down the field. And if you've actually been in the car with your parents with the sat-nav on, and you're coming off the motorway, but the sat-nav still thinks you're on the motorway for a bit, and all of a sudden it drops over to where you are. Yeah, that's because car sat-navs are typically accurate to around about 13 metres. So when you go out in that 13 metre area, it realises that you're not actually on the motorway anymore and jumps to it. Well, the guidance that we use on our tractors is accurate down to 2 centimetres, so not a massive difference compared to what we've got on cars. What that means is that year on year, the driver can go down exactly the same field in exactly the same tractor, and he will drive down exactly the same line every single year, because the auto guy will put it straight back onto that line, making sure that we're doing exactly the same job year on year. A lot of our implements rely on a technology called Isobus. That's a communication, if you like, between what we've got on the back of the tractor and the tractor itself. It means that the driver inside the tractor is actually capable of adjusting everything that the implement on the back is doing or communicates with. In terms of the industry itself, many years ago, your average technician would have approached the job by opening their toolbox and taking out some spanners to start fixing the tractor. The first thing they do these days, believe it or not, is turn their laptop on. Very complicated bits of kit. They need a lot of young minds to work them. And obviously, you guys are more conversant with computers these days than I certainly was. And I transitioned in from another industry. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. But yeah, don't ever dismiss the idea of a career in the agricultural industry, because there is a lot of different things that you can go into. So yeah, you done?
You mentioned that you came from a different industry. So
Yes.
what was your kind of journey into ag engineering?
My background, I left school in the early 2000s. I'm giving my age away now, aren't I? And I actually did my apprenticeship on buses. So I started off working on buses as a mechanic, and then I moved over into trucks. And then a few years ago, I transitioned over into agriculture. Very similar technology, although a lot more advanced electronically in the agricultural industry, but it's ultimately all nuts and bolts. So I sort of moved over, fancied a new challenge, and now I spend my days training mechanics and electricians to work on our vehicles. So.
Excellent. Thank you, Ashley.
No worries.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to hear from Ian Bond, who is the technical instructor from John Deere. And John Deere, you'll find the enormous tractor over in the corner of the exhibition you can see after. Over to you, Ian.
So, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, like I said, my name's Ian Bond, one of the technical trainers up at John Deere up at Langer. So, a little bit about kind of John Deere. We're one of the leading manufacturers for agricultural turf equipment. So, if any of your fathers or grandfathers play golf, we also have a sector which looks after the golf courses. Construction, so we have a construction side, so the roads that you've driven on today, we do have a Vertcon group which would kind of take responsibility of that side, and also we have the forestry side. So we are a world production manufacturer, so anywhere in the world you will see one of those green and yellow machines. Okay, so a little bit about myself. I actually left school and I went in the British Army, so I spent 4.5 years as a soldier. I then came out of that and joined a John Deere technician apprenticeship. So yeah, spent about 2 to 3 years becoming a John Deere apprentice, and then I spent 10 years within a dealership actually fixing those machines you see out there, and also combines, golf equipment, and anything in between. So quite a good experience, a very good career, very rewarding career, to be honest with you. Every single day is completely different. One day you're at, say, a small machine, the next day you're at a combine, the next day you could be a sprayer. It's absolutely fantastic, very varied. So that's a little bit about kind of me, and then once after that I then obviously progressed up to a department manager, and then now I find myself as a technical training instructor at John Deere. So my kind of responsibilities as a training instructor is the X9 combine, so a little bit like that 8T combine that you see out there, but it's what we have called the X series, so big massive green piece of equipment, harvesters, wheat, cereals, kind of the food you see on your plate. Okay, so I'm guessing, has everybody had breakfast this morning or dinner last night? Okay, so as an industry, our responsibilities is to actually get that food onto your table. So for us, that is our customers. So we supply our customers with machines, which then in turn harvest the crop, which then in turn puts that food onto your table. So we have a very, very big responsibility to make sure that that happens for you guys. As Ash nicely spoke about last time, the population is growing, okay? So with that, we need to make what we call site-specific farming. We need to make sure we get the most out of a certain amount of ground to maximise yields and also lower the input cost and make it an overall and effective procedure. Okay, so how do we do that? Okay, so a lot of our machines now, okay, so as the operator, if you were to sit in that machine, they're what they call an automation machine, okay, so there has to be an operator sat in the seat and you can press the buttons and it will require, it will work itself out in circuit sequencers and drive itself, okay. Where we are now today is actually, we are actually in America. We have machines that you can take to a field, you can program them, and that machine will work itself without any operator intervention, which is pretty good. Yeah. So if you saw a tractor out there and you didn't see an operator in it, you'd be pretty scared. Okay, but that machine knows what it's doing, it's fully autonomous, it will work away. Okay, so putting that into perspective, so the first space shuttle that went into space, okay, that machine there has got more technology on it than that space shuttle that went into space. Okay, it's pretty impressive. There's a lot going on with it. Okay, so where kind of the industry's going, you know, is kind of Ash spoke about and we've kind of briefly touched about, we need to make the farmers or our customers more economical, okay, and more efficient, and we can do that by optimizing their performance, and that is our kind of vision as a manufacturer, okay. Also, kind of just touching on it a little bit, so electrification, so everybody knows what electric is, okay, that is also where we're going. Okay, so if we've actually got machines now which have actually, the gearboxes, the transmissions in them are fully electric. Okay, so they move themselves electrically. It's all about being more sustainable and being more eco-friendly. Okay, brilliant.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks very much. So last but not least, we're going to hear from James Hutchinson, who is the bedding and feeding sales specialist from Kuhn. And Kuhn are responsible for the seed drill that you'll see just next to the green and yellow tractor behind there. So go and have a look, check it out.
Morning, thank you. So I'm James Hutchinson, feeding and bedding specialist for Kuhn Farm Machinery. Kuhn Farm Machinery, we're one of the biggest worldwide manufacturers of implements, so equipment that would hook onto your John Deere or your Massey tractor. Our aim is to cultivate the soil or prepare the soil ready to grow the crops that you end up eating for your lunch, for your dinner. Also to prepare the land ready for livestock and other animals to eat. So a little bit about my history, my background. Grown up around farming, come off of a family farm to start off with. Went to school, went to college, ended up having the opportunity to go out to North America and go to a university out in North America, looking at agriculture and studying agriculture and agriculture engineering. Got the opportunity to work on some very big farms in North America and travel from Canada down to the Mexico border, and spent a couple of years out there, which was good fun and really interesting, but also gave a good insight to how we produce food in this country on a different scale to what America, Brazil, Canada, Eastern countries produce food. In our country, we have a very small land mass, so we have to be really efficient and really productive with the land that we have here. We're on a very small island compared to, say, America or India or China or Russia, for example. And that's why technology has to go forward and has to advance. And what we need are the new young people, young engineers, to do that and develop that technology and push it forward. As Ashley was saying earlier, Gone are the days of an engineer would turn up with some spanners and fix a machine. Now he turns up with his iPhone, with his tablet, with his laptop, plugs it in and diagnoses issues and sorts them out. And to sort of take that on a step further, Kuhn are looking at machines that are fully robotic, that the farmer sits in his office. He tells the machine what to do. It will go off, feed his cattle, because another issue that we have and are having within the industry is labour. More and more people are more skilled, more technical. So being able to have robotic equipment to do the job, we need those technical people to help us and advance the industry going forward. And when you think about robotics, you can also be sort of thinking about technology to do with lasers, technology to be do with GPS, to be even dealing with sonar that they use on ships and submarines, for example. That sort of technology is coming into agriculture in the next sort of 5-6 years, and needing to have the base of people, young people there to understand that and aid farmers with their machines in the future.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for our panel? You have a question?
What do you think would be more expensive, a kilo of gold or a kilo of tomato seeds?
You have somewhere else to go to find the answer to that question. The orange table's just there, KWSC. You'll find the answer to that. But I just so you've heard there about autonomous tractors with no drivers in them. We've heard about robotics, about electrification, and the guys have all kind of given examples of how they've gotten into the industry. I've got a question to each of you. What is it about agriculture and this industry particularly that you like the most, given your transferable skills as engineers, and that you talked about the space shuttle and more technology on a tractor than a space shuttle? To each of you, what is it about this industry particularly that you love working in?
As I've got the mic, I'll go first on that one. I enjoy this industry because we get to explore the country, the world. We get to be in an outdoor environment. We get to meet lots of different people from across the country, and it's a people industry. We talk to people, we liaise with people all the time, and that really is for me why I enjoy and like the industry. I'm gonna try and answer your question. At the minute, I would say gold has a higher value than potatoes, but I see that becoming a lot more equal and a lot more on a par, because the one thing we've got to remember is we all need to eat. Food and food security is getting more and more. The world we're living in is becoming more challenging. So yeah, I think in time, food will become at a level, and even, dare I say, water will become to a level as what gold is.
There you go.
Cheers, John. Thank you. Over the years, I've worked on lots of different vehicles in lots of different industries. Like I say, started on buses, moved into trucks. I've worked on black cab taxis. I've worked on anything from ride-on lawnmowers now right up to tractors. And I like the agricultural industry because it is so diverse. There are so many sub-industries within the industry as a whole. I mean, don't get me wrong, the agricultural industry is probably one of, if not the biggest industries on the planet, because, as I say, we've all got to eat and everything's got to be harvested. But within that, you've got your arable farming, you've got your livestock farming, and each of those independent sectors have got their own vehicles, their own implements for specific roles. And there is that much to understand. It's that diverse. There's always something new to learn, and there's always new challenges to overcome. So yeah, that's part of my rationale for it. And to just chip in with what you were saying, James, in answer to your question as well, very much along the same lines, I think ultimately with global warming, the way that it's being threatened and how it's going to become harder and harder to grow food eventually, as you say, we've got to eat. And if it gets harder and harder to grow that food, then the scarcity of it is going to make it all the more valuable. Because at the end of the day, you can't eat gold. So, yeah, that's, I think you're right.
Good answer. Ian?
Brilliant. Yeah, I think for me, it's certainly you're part of the seed. I think so. When you plant the seed, or the farmer plants the seed, to get that from the seed to the harvesting point, you are in that point somewhere, which I think is quite a big responsibility. It's certainly in an industry. Certainly the agricultural industry, it is the most progressive industry for technologies. I can certainly guarantee that. If you look at any of the cars out there that you see driving up the road, they are nowhere near the level kind of we're at. I think that's kind of where my kind of passion for the agricultural engineering side of things, and also reflecting back on what your question was. If you look back 200, 300, 400 years, wool was worth more than gold. Okay, that's a known thing. So because it was there, it could keep you warm. So going back to it, yes, it could be kind of potentially, as these guys say, could be worth more because it's more valuable to us. So yeah, brilliant.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. Thanks to our panel for taking part. Hope you've learned a little bit something about agricultural engineering and the opportunities potentially for you as you embark on your careers. Thank you very much.